They said I wasn't an effort kind of person, so I showed them the will that changed everything. Hi, I'm Jack, 32, and last Christmas I sold my parents' house out from under them while they were still living in it. Not for revenge. Not at first, but because after 3 decades of being invisible, I finally decided to show up and burn the family script to the ground. I wasn't the favorite. Not even close. In fact, in my mother Sharon's world, I wasn't even in the top 3, and there were only 3 of us. She had her golden boy Ethan, her golden girl Melanie, and then me, Jack, the reliable shadow. The one who brought his own groceries to family dinners, just in case. The one who didn't get a room with monogram pillowcases at Christmas, just a tag that said guest. And the worst part, I let it slide. For years, I told myself it didn't matter, that I was low maintenance, that being the overlooked one came with perks, less pressure, more freedom, less drama. I built my life in that quiet corner, got my degree, built a company, bought my own house, paid off my debts, became the kind of person who fixes leaks instead of causing them. But last Christmas, I learned something about shadows. If you stay in them too long, you start to believe you belong there. It started, as all disasters do, with cinnamon rolls. Christmas morning, Sharon's Olympic event. The tree looked like a Macy's catalog threw up on it. Gift piles were stacked like color-coded shrines. Melanie's in blush and gold, Ethan's in navy and silver, mine in, well, technically it wasn't a pile. It was a single gift bag, reused, slightly crushed. Inside, a pack of expired coupons from local businesses, a 15% off at a gym that had shut down, a free pizza slice from a place that burned down last spring. At the bottom, a crumpled receipt from a hardware store, not even mine. Sharon barely glanced at me. Well, Jack, she said, you've never really been one for gifts. You're not exactly an effort kind of person. Something in me cracked, after everything I'd built, after paying off their mortgage, after sending birthday flowers even when she forgot mine, after skipping prom to work overtime just to save for college, after showing up, always. That was the moment. That sentence, that laugh from Ethan, that smirk from Melanie, that silence that swallowed me whole. That was the moment I decided, I'm selling the house, not just because I could, but because they didn't know I could. Because 6 months earlier, Dad Greg, the emotionally absent ESPN subscriber in human form, had signed over the deed to me in exchange for bailing them out of a second mortgage disaster they never told anyone about. I held the paperwork in my closet like a loaded secret, waiting, watching, wondering if they'd ever make me feel like part of the family again. Spoiler, they did in single quotes t.so the next morning, while they were still sleeping off the wine and performative joy. I took the deed, called my realtor, and planted a bright red for sale sign right next to the wooden reindeer Dad carved in 1998. And oh note, no explanation, just silence. Let them figure it out. Let them feel what it's like to be left out of the story. Because I wasn't a guest anymore. I was the landlord, and this time, I'd be the one writing the ending. They didn't call. Not right away. Not on Christmas night when they saw the sign. Not the day after, when the listing went live. Not even when the first batch of nosy neighbors came knocking, asking if the rumors were true. Total radio silence, and that silence said more than any screaming match ever could. I expected rage, tears, maybe a few all-caps texts from Sharon, threatening legal action, but instead, silence. As if they were trying to manifest it away, as if ignoring it mightn't sell the house. But on New Year's Eve, the voicemail finally came. From Melanie? Not hi, Jack, or are you okay? Just, Mom's hysterical. Dad hasn't spoken since Tuesday. You made your point. Call me. I didn't. Because here's what no one in my family ever understood. I wasn't making a point. I was making space. For myself. For the first time in decades. And it felt good. Quietly, deeply good. Ava, my girlfriend at the time, called it controlled liberation. You didn't explode, she said. You unhooked yourself from the sinking ship. That's rare. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. Because 2 weeks after the listing went up, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name in Sharon's unmistakably elegant, passive-aggressive cursive. Inside, A torn sheet of yellow notebook paper, scribbled, not typed. Jack, whatever point you're trying to make, it's cruel. You've humiliated your siblings. You've broken your father's heart. Maybe I wasn't the perfect mother, but I gave you everything I could. I drove you to school. I packed your lunches. I sat through your awful band concerts. Now, you repay me by selling our home out from under us like we're strangers? You always thought you were better than us. I see that now. So go. Be better. Be alone. No apology. No, I'm proud of you. Not even an acknowledgement that I paid off the debt that saved their house in the first place. Just guilt. Sprinkled with revisionist history and iced with one final twist of the knife. I read it once, folded it, slid it into a drawer, not as a keepsake as evidence, because for the first time, I had proof black and white ink on paper that it was never about love, only control, and once you stop needing their approval, you become dangerous. But the final nail didn't come from Sharon. It came from Greg, my dad. He called me out of the blue, voice hoarse, like he hadn't spoken in days. Jack, it's your sister. We need to talk. I sat up straight. Melanie? She took money, he said. A lot of it. From your mom. From me. It's all gone. And just like that, the cracks they tried to paint over with Instagram filters and brunch photos started to burst wide open. She what? I asked, already knowing the answer. Greg exhaled like the weight of the truth physically hurt him. She told us it was for the boutique, a new ad agency, influencer deals. Said it was a once-in-a-lifetime brand opportunity. Your mom gave her full access to the joint account. Then, after a pause, 70,000. Gone. 70,000. I sat there staring at my phone like it might glitch and give me a better number, but Greg kept talking. She bought fake followers, fake reviews, hired some consultant who disappeared after 2 weeks, didn't renew her website. Boutique's dead. And now the condo in Florida's fallen through. And your mother's panicking. She's just now realizing the house was the only real safety net we had. I almost laughed. Almost. Because for 30 years, I was the invisible kid. The backup plan. And now, the people who dismissed me as not really an effort kind of person were looking around and realizing I'd been the net under their tightrope the whole time. Why are you telling me this? I finally asked. He paused. Because she doesn't know I'm calling. And I should have said something a long time ago. I'm sorry, Jack. That stunned me more than the theft. Not because it fixed anything, but because it cracked something open I didn't even realize I'd sealed shut. But I wasn't going to let sentimentality distract me. The house was gone. Melanie had burned through their savings like it was Monopoly money. And Sharon, Instagram's favorite suburban matriarch, was about to find herself exposed as the architect of her own downfall. All I had to do was let it happen. But Ava had a better idea. A slideshow, she said, like she was pitching a TED Talk. We do it her way. A perfect family performance. But this time, you control the narrative. We were at her place. She pulled out her old design laptop like we were planning a heist. I told her everything: Greg's call, the boutique collapse, Sharon's silence. Even showed her the letter. Ava read it slowly, eyebrows raised. Then she nodded. All right, she said. Let's burn it all down. But with style. Step 1, gather allies. I texted my cousin Danny, who once confided Sharon had tried to block me from giving a toast at her wedding because I was too serious. Her response? I've been waiting for this moment my entire life. Game on. Step 2. The engagement party. Melanie was throwing one with her new dentist, Fiank. Bryce. A rented event space, a guest list of 200, and a champagne tower she probably couldn't afford. Perfect. Ava started building the deck that night. Screenshots, emails, receipts, bank statements, Yelp reviews from scammed customers, even the Venmo transfers Melanie had sent to some ghost consultant account linked to her own email. Slide after slide. Devastating. Surgical. But we weren't done, because at the end of the presentation, Ava added a full, labeled simply, inheritance, and that was the real bombshell. The folder labeled inheritance wasn't just a footnote. It was the grenade. Because what no one knew, not Sharon, not Melanie, Not even Greg was that my grandfather had rewritten his will 6 months before he died, and in that handwritten, notarized amendment, he left everything to me: the house, the savings, the stocks, even the antique watch Sharon claimed was too fragile to be passed down. All of it. See, Grandpa wasn't fooled by Sharon's show. He saw what was underneath. And more importantly, he saw me. He didn't say it much, but he showed it. Every summer I spent in his garage, holding flashlights and sanding wood. Every quiet breakfast where he'd slide the comics across the table first, because he knew I liked to read them before the news. Every time he looked at me like I wasn't invisible, and tucked inside an old desk drawer, taped to the underside with yellowing masking tape, was that envelope. I only found it by accident while helping clear his storage unit last spring, and I had kept it, not to use, just to know that I wasn't crazy, that at least one person in this family once believed I mattered. But now it was time to use it. Ava scanned everything: the amendment, the signature match, even the forensic handwriting analysis I'd quietly commissioned just to be sure. We laid it out slide by slide. Grandpa's original will, Sharon's version, filed 2 weeks after his death, the real amendment, notarized, and witnessed a side-by-side signature comparison. The account balance of the savings he'd set aside, the property Sharon had claimed he gave her as a verbal gift. A final slide. What was hid, now revealed. And at the very bottom, one sentence in white font on black: "This is what rewriting family history looks like. We finished the deck 3 nights before the party." Ava uploaded it to a flash drive and handed it to me like a holy relic. "Don't drop this," she said. "It's not just receipts, it's liberation." When we arrived at the event space, everything looked exactly how Sharon would have wanted: gold-rimmed champagne glasses, fox rustic florals, a guestbook table with printed photo collages of Melanie and Bryce looking effortlessly in love. And of course, Sharon, fluttering around in a blush wrap dress, doing air kisses and directing the photographer like she was staging a Vogue cover. She spotted me and blinked like I was a glitch in the simulation. "Jack, you came." A beat too long passed. Then, "We didn't expect you." I smiled. "I brought a gift." Ava, standing beside me in a black dress and diamond stud earrings, handed over the flash drive. "Oh," Sharon said, suspicious but intrigued. "It's a slideshow," I said. "Thought we could all take a walk down memory lane." She hesitated. Then, seeing eyes on her waiting, she turned to the AV guy and waved him over. "Let's plug it in," she said. The room dimmed, the projector buzzed, and just like that, we hit play. The slideshow began innocently enough. Melanie as a baby, Melanie in a tutu, Melanie holding a girl boss mug at her boutique launch party, mid-humblebrag. The guests smiled politely. Sharon beamed. Bryce nodded like a man deeply invested in curated nostalgia. Then the tone shifted. The first receipt appeared, a PayPal transaction to Social Growth Media 12,000, a note below: "Boost package plus follower bundle fake." Whispers started. Slide. A screenshot of a Yelp review. "Scam boutique. Ordered a necklace in October, never shipped. No response. Stay away." Slide. Bank withdrawals. Consulting fees. A red flag trail of digital breadcrumbs that told the story no one had been invited here to hear. Melanie's smile faded. Sharon's posture stiffened. Aunt Denise leaned in. Uncle Marcus squinted at the screen. Then, the overdraft slide. Joint account ending in 4402. Balance 212.37. Captioned: "This is what favoritism buys." The room fell silent. Someone dropped a fork. The clatter echoed like gunfire. Sharon stood up, her face bone white under the lights. "Enough," she hissed. "Turn it off." But before she could reach the laptop, a second folder flashed onto the screen. Siva, standing near the back, clicked it open remotely with the controller hidden in her clutch. And that's when all hell broke loose. The will, the notarization, the amendment, Sharon's altered filing, the side-by-side signature analysis, the time-stamped envelope pulled from Grandpa's desk drawer. Each slide a slow, quiet detonation. You could feel the room shifting, trust cracking like ice underfoot. Then came the final slide. A photo of me and Grandpa in the garage, grease-stained, mid-laugh. Captioned: He saw me when no one else did. Sharon's voice rang out like a fire alarm. This is a lie. My father never would've what, Mom? I said, stepping forward, calm and steady. Left something to the only person who didn't treat him like a wallet? You don't understand how this family works, she snapped. You never did. You're not one of us. You never tried to be. That stung, but it also didn't. Not anymore. Did try, I said. For 30 years. But I'm done performing. And you don't get to control the story anymore. She reached for the power button, but before she could hit it, Ava's voice cut in. Sweet and bright. For anyone who missed a slide, don't worry. The full presentation has been sent to your emails. Links active for 48 hours. A ripple of gasps. Greg closed his eyes. Ethan looked like he wanted to climb inside a bottle of champagne and never come out. Melanie burst into tears. And me? I smiled. Not smug. Not cruel. Just free. We turned. We left. We didn't look back. Outside, Ava slipped her hand into mine. Was that revenge? She asked softly. I looked at her. Oh, I said. That was clarity. The fallout came faster than I expected. Within 72 hours, the engagement party was cancelled. Bryce, Melanie's dentist fiancé, apparently left the next morning. No fight. No drama. Just packed a bag, texted, "This isn't what I signed up for," and dipped. Word was, his mom saw the slideshow link and called him sobbing. Melanie's boutique website, offline. Instagram, wiped. Her TikTok, where she once lip-synced to empowerment quotes while wearing sunglasses indoors, had one last video. Sometimes life hits hard. But I hit back harder. It got 11,000 comments. Most of them asking if she planned to pay her customers back. Meanwhile, Sharon went into full spin mode. Changed her Facebook profile to a stock photo of a flower. Posted something about pruning the garden of life. Some roots don't grow with you. Translation? I got caught. But let me pretend it was intentional. But the problem with controlling the narrative, you need people willing to believe it. And after that slideshow, not many were left. Aunt Denise called me. Her exact words, "I always knew your mother had a flair for reinterpretation." But I didn't know how deep it went. I'm sorry, Jack. We see you now. That sentence hit harder than I expected. Because for the first time in forever, someone in the family said, we. I didn't answer Sharon's texts. I didn't reply to Melanie's 3-paragraph Instagram DM titled, "I just want to explain." I was done. Ethan sent me a voice memo, half apology, half crypto pitch. I left him on read. Greg, though? He called. Again. Jack, he said quietly, I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted to say you were right. About all of it. I let it happen. I should have done more. I didn't say much back. But I didn't hang up either. Because I believed him. And because unlike Sharon, Greg never pretended he wasn't flawed. He just hid. And now, for once, he wasn't hiding. And I spent the next few weekends traveling. Lisbon first. Then Florence. Then a small cabin up north, where the Wi-Fi was spotty, and the silence was perfect. We laughed. We talked. We existed in peace. One morning, as we sat on the porch wrapped in a blanket, she said, "So, now what? Now that the truth's out." I thought about it. About the house. The slideshow. The letter in my drawer. The picture of me and Grandpa by the fireplace. Now framed in my hallway. Now, I said, I live. No more trying to earn a seat at someone else's table. No more begging to be seen. I wasn't building a new version of myself. I was uncovering the one who'd been buried under all that noise. Later that month, I got invited to Thanksgiving, not by Sharon. By Danny. Just real people, she said. No performance. You in? I brought wine. Ava brought pie. We laughed. We told stories. And for the first time, no one interrupted me with a dismissive shrug or a punchline. When I made a toast, people actually listened. At the end of the night, Danny raised a glass and said, "To Jack, for showing us that sometimes the only way to heal is to stop pretending everything was fine in the first place." I didn't cry, but I came close. By December, the story had become family legend. Not a scandal, exactly. More like a myth people whispered about at gatherings they used to pretend were sacred. Sharon and Greg sold the Florida condo before ever stepping foot in it. Word was, they spun it as downsizing for simplicity. But anyone who saw the slideshow knew better. Her curated empire of perfection had crumbled, and in its place, silence. From the woman who once narrated every moment of her life with hashtags and captions, Ethan pivoted to some vague startup scheme in Arizona. Something about ants and spirituality. I didn't ask. I didn't care. Melanie moved back in with Sharon and Greg. Temporarily, of course, though every relative I spoke to knew the truth. She was broke, unengaged, and for the first time in her life, unspinable.as for me. I kept building my business, landed 2 new contracts. I expanded into a second office space with Ava helping me design it. Minimalist walls, sunlight, plants that didn't fake being alive, and I started sleeping through the night. No tension in my chest. No invisible weight pulling at me every time a family photo popped up on social media. Just breath. Quiet, steady breath. Ava and I celebrated Christmas in Lisbon that year. No tree, no cinnamon rolls, no color-coded wrapping paper. Just wine on a balcony overlooking the lights of a city that had no idea who we were. It was perfect. On Christmas morning, she handed me a gift. Just one. Inside was a journal. Leather-bound, soft, and simple. On the inside cover, she'd written, "For the stories you haven't told yet. Because the best ones are the ones we write ourselves." I stared at the page for a long time. Then I kissed her, because after everything, after 32 years of being the ghost in my own family's photo albums, I finally understood something. It wasn't about being seen. It was about seeing myself. And I had. Clearly. 6 months later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, Jack. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. But thank you for everything. I think you saved us." Even if it didn't look like that at the time. Greg. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply. Not out of anger, just clarity. Not every story needs a sequel. Some are better left closed. That summer, and I signed the lease on a new apartment. 3rd floor, corner unit, big windows, too much sunlight. A kitchen she insisted we learn to actually use. We hosted friends. We danced barefoot on Sundays. We lived. One night, while unpacking the last of my old boxes, I found the framed photo from Grandpa's garage again, me at age 9. All crooked teeth and oil-stained hands. Smiling like I'd won something bigger than a science fair. I placed it on the shelf by my desk, next to a small plant Ava named Murray, and for a moment, I just sat there, watching the light fall across that photo. That boy had no idea how hard it would get, how invisible he'd feel, how long it would take to be seen, but he never gave up. He kept showing up. He kept building. He kept trying, and in the end, he didn't burn the house down out of spite. He sold it out of survival. He told the truth in a language his family couldn't ignore. Silence, receipts, and finally his own voice. So, to anyone who's ever been the background character in their own family, the quiet one, the fixer, the ghost, let me say this. You don't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes, you just have to stop whispering, and when you do, the echo will shake the whole damn house. Thanks for listening, Jack.